Just when he's ready. Okay, great. Welcome everyone to the webinar on the Business Bootcamp and Maker Days. So this is the webinar that follows up to the weekend in Bangalore that started last Friday with the Business Bootcamp and then went on for 3 more days of making. So today we would like to cover with you a few things. First, we want to share what happened at the weekend. What did you miss, maybe? What could you cover on your own? And definitely impressions and learnings from the teams and our team itself. Then we want to say a few words about the judging, which teams have been selected both from the online track and the on-site track, and how can you get your feedback, and what are the messages and suggestions for the way forward. And that's also the next point, the road ahead, objectives, program and support. So we're going towards demo day on the 23rd of January, so lots of things to be done, and we're telling you what we're expecting, but also how we're going to support you in this. The whole webinar should be very interactive, so at any point just let us know if you have questions. Don't forget either to just speak up through the mic or to type them in the chat or through the question and answer feature. So we can take questions throughout and definitely also in the end. And this webinar is probably going to take 1 hour or no more than 1 hour. So we can start with the impressions. We have Tarun and Manas who were there this weekend in Bangalore, and hopefully also Anil is going to join us. He's one of the judges. So maybe Tarun, do you want to start with a few impressions from this weekend in Bangalore?
Hi everyone. First of all, congratulations for making it to the next stage. It wasn't so easy. The judges were, quite strict. I just want to talk a little bit about how it all sort of came together in Bangalore. I don't know if you had the opportunity to look at the live stream. We started off first day with Business Bootcamp. This was at it's really one of the leading business universities in India. And they put on a real great show for us. So what they did was to try and understand what people had been through so far as part of their process, to understand what the learnings were, what they had actually started off with, what impressions that they had, why they were motivated to actually join the process, and to kind of reflect back on what had happened so far to them. And it was an interesting set of findings. So they'd asked 2 questions really. One is, what did you learn? And the second one was, what do you think you need from now? Then we had quite a long input. It was about a 2-hour input from one of the professors. And they talked about the whole idea of entrepreneurship and talked about how there often people think about management in terms of managerial approaches to things. And here what happens is that you have a particular goal to get to, and then people think about what do they need as resources and planning and time to get to that goal. But when they've studied entrepreneurship, they find it's a completely different approach that successful entrepreneurs take. What they do is they see what they have, and on the basis of that, they might have multiple goals, and they start from the basis of what they have, and they keep on learning from the environment where they have to go, and on that basis they become successful. And we're not talking just about small entrepreneurs. They looked at research of the 500 top startups around the world, and see that this is the kind of approach that they've taken. So it's a little bit like you go into the fridge, you open the fridge door, you see what ingredients you have, and then you start cooking depending on where you want to go. So that was one big point. The second thing that they introduced was the idea, and I'll come to this later, which of something called the lean canvas. So when we talk about business, everybody immediately thinks that you have to do a business plan, and the business plan can take you a month or 2 months or 3 months to write. It takes you away from what you're supposed to do. And so this approach was initiated a little while ago, which was just the basics of how one might put together on one page the idea of how you might become an entrepreneur. Then each team had to fill in about 20 minutes one of the lean canvases, and on the basis of that, they were given feedback. And the feedback mechanism was quite interesting. People would come, they had 3 minutes, 3 or 5 minutes to present what their lean canvas looked like. And this asked questions like, what problem are you trying to solve? What's your solution? What are the key metrics involved? What is your unique value proposition? What is your unique advantage? How you might market your products, and what the different customer segments. And based on that, they were then had to sit facing the wall so they couldn't see anybody who was giving them feedback. And people were allowed to give constructive feedback, just saying things like, I think that you should perhaps look at, for example, your customer segment again, or I think you should look at the channels by which you're trying to do this. And that teams found really very useful. We then had inputs from a variety of different people. We had a group of what are called global shapers. This is part of the World Economic Forum. These are a network of individuals who are who kind of help in the social impact space. So they bring their skills and they bring their experiences, and they talked a little bit about how one might go about finding funding. They talked about some of the pitfalls of once you do get funding, how you can actually preserve that money and bring it to use. We also then finally had inputs from one of our domain experts, who's also a person with disability, who sort of brought the whole day together. So that was quite an interesting day, and I think centrally for people, they suddenly came on board the idea that fine, we've come this far in the process, we have a prototype. What are we actually going to do to make sure that it gets distributed in the market? Because it emerged that most of the people there weren't really in this to make money. Most of the people, and I think this is probably true of the people on this call now, is the real intention behind taking part in the Enable Makeathon has been about how do you actually get hundreds, if not millions, thousands, if not millions of people to use the products. And I think this point came out was several times, is that so far in taking part in the Makeathon, people have shown an extraordinary amount of conviction on their ideas and the fact that they wanted to do it. But once you become an entrepreneur, you really have to go beyond that into something which is like commitment. And the bottom line on that is that you might have to give up 3 to 5 years of your life, or find a different channel to take it forward. And I think people were left with that feeling, and quite strongly so. So quite a good, a very, very useful day. I just asked Manas if there's anything you want to add, or Anil, anything you want to add?
No, I think whatever you said, that you have actually covered most of the things. So this one is nothing from my side. If Manas wants to add anything.
That's almost all you have covered, Tarun.
Okay, maybe maybe one impressive moment for you, or a turning point, or a wow moment throughout the day.
Sorry. Sorry.
Maybe from the business bootcamp, just from a personal perspective, what is it that you really liked, that amazed you, or that was like an eye opener throughout on that day?
Okay, so definitely from my side, what I have seen is how this one person from Delhi, Nikram, came with this one idea that he has to make one kind of splint, but when he came for the boot camp, and his device is really evolved. Now actually his device is having so many attachment in this, and it was really going to benefit to the people. So this what we see, really how this device evolved during the entire process. It was amazing to see for me, and and it is really nice to see for not only for the judges perspective, but whoever was present during that time. I think that was amazing to see. So this it was the great thing, that how the people had changed their devices. Even what be actually rejected, it was from Disa for the feeder, but they have also worked in so many ways, and how it has changed the entire devices. It was phenomenal.
Okay, so Nekram, he is working for ISIC 8T, which is the
Yeah,
ability kit, so kind of hand tools that help in different with hand movements for people with hand impairment, yeah?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for sharing. And maybe with that we can already go to the Maker Days and what happened there.
Yeah, and even for the one more thing, the person from IIT, Asim, Asim, or I do not remember the name. The way they came the first time, and they wanted to attach their front attachment to the wheelchair, but their things was not having that kind of adjustability. Means such people were not really convinced that time that it is really going to have so much interest on this, because that was not really really was so much convincing, because where he's going to attach to the wheelchair, how it's going to be this flexible, and how the people is going to drive. But when he came, and the way he has shown this device is really good. So that was this, it's kind of wow for me, because we need actually those kind of devices for the rural people, but they do not have. So this, they have IIT guys, I think his name is Asim, they have done this fantastic job.
Great, thanks.
Okay.
Okay.
This.
Tarun, do you want to continue with the
Yeah,
Maker Days?
yeah. Just one last point, I think. Just one last point is that, so far everybody had been thinking about, making and production. And I think at the end of this day, everybody recognized that perhaps the most important thing was to think about the customer and distribution. You can make all you want, you can produce all you want, but unless you get that segment right, yeah, who are your customers? What are the channels that you're going to use? So that was one incredible shift that came from the business day. So I think we have another person join us. This is that Tulika?
Yeah, I think it is, yeah.
Good to see.
Hi, Tulika.
Okay, so going on to the Maker Days. The Maker Days were held in they were held in workbench projects. It's quite a large space. It has all the digital fabrication equipment, the 3D printers, the laser cutters, etc. It also had a lot of people around, including Pavan and others who were sort of helping out. So people who knew how to use the machines, people who could give people advice on what they had done. To some extent, I was in the beginning somewhat disappointed because I found that people had come to the boot camp without necessarily having done as much making work as we had expected. So in the month prior to this, people had gone and understandably done some interaction with users. They had also done a little bit of design and conceptual thinking, but most people had sort of left the idea of making to these 2 days, and I think this was part of the issue. So when they came there, although most of them were clear about what equipment they wanted, what materials they wanted, they actually hadn't necessarily purchased them. And so the first half of the day, people were going to the shops and picking up the kind of equipment that they wanted. Some, of course, had. In fact, there was 5 groups who had come from Chennai, and because there had been flooding there, these people were actually forced to do some making, to come early to Bangalore and do some making. So some of them had done it. But really, what we had seen in the prototypes, people had shared, there wasn't very much advanced, or people hadn't very advanced on there. And so these 2 days became really transformative. It's a little bit like Anil was saying, is that people had come with one idea, and suddenly when they were addressing the making of that idea, and also looking at getting help from professionals, many of the products actually changed quite significantly. In most cases, I think with the exception of one, the products went hugely forward. In one case, in fact, I think that by using a different set of materials, they encountered some sort of new problems. But I think this is normal in the process of making. The other thing to say was that it was hugely kind of interactive. So people were going and seeing what other people were doing, and everybody started to collaborate and give ideas. So particularly in the areas of where people were using electronics, some people had a certain degree of expertise, other people had different expertise, and often they gave solutions to the other. And this was really very nice to do. We also had two people come from Switzerland. These were people from ETH, which is one of the premier technology institutes in Switzerland. And both of these people were both medical engineers as well, medical people as well as engineers. And they are working on something called the Cybathlon. And the Cybathlon is something which will take part in October next year. And it has 6 disciplines, and what it is forcing people to do is to use the latest technology to enable persons with disability to use prosthetics or use orthotics of different kinds and have physical races. So what I'd suggest you do is, after the call, perhaps go on to the internet and just put up Cybathlon, and then you'll get a sense of what people are doing there. So these people brought in a huge amount of experience and knowledge. They also learned a lot, because the questions that they were asking in terms of improving people's, enabling people to use different devices to overcome their disabilities, exactly the same questions, but they take it from the kind of Formula One approach, whereas the Enable Makeathon is taking it from the bottom of the pyramid approach. So that was a very good interaction. We had many people, all our partners, come in, have a look at the teams, and then the pressure got quite intense. So on the first night of the Makeathon, people were working. There were a couple of teams that worked all through the night. And I don't think anybody left till about 11 o'clock, and there were some teams till about 1 at night. So really a lot of work trying to go, and suddenly when they realized that there was going to be the judging coming, there was a lot of pressure in the teams. So they were scrambling around. They had huge amounts to do in 2 days, because what we were hoping for was prototypes which were something that that actually started to look like a final product, and had been tested by users. But in fact, all the team said, look, we haven't got to the stage where we can actually say that we've tested by users, and so we kind of dropped that as being a requirement for people showing their products. I think by the second day, people were quite exhausted. Some people, definitely there was a huge improvement in practically all of the products. Some people went to APD, which is the Disability NGO, and there they tested out products with disabled people, but a lot of materials were also brought. So the prosthetic devices brought, there were different kinds of rubber and different kind of materials people used. And then we got ready for the judging. I'll just stop there for a moment, just to collect my thoughts. And Manas or Tulika, perhaps you can give your impressions of Maker Day.
Sure, sure, Tarun. So it was really good seeing the teams. They were striving hard to prepare their prototypes to bring them in a state so that they can be presented to the judges on the judging day. And as Tarun just said, they worked throughout the nights. We could see the passion in them for this. And there were very good mentorship which was provided to them. So mentors were available for any of their queries, and all the help was given to them. They used all the facilities, 3D printing, laser cutters, everything. Uh, and what I found is the teams also learned a lot from these 2 days, improvising the design. That was the much.
I think to add to what Manas has said, and also what Tarun has said, that there's a level of the prototypes that people had in mind. There were some teams that had brilliant ideas and brilliant prototypes that could come forward. But at the same time, I think there's this question of where do you measure quality? Um, I think the measurement of quality is where the thought process was possibly running around in their mind. There were teams who probably would have felt that the time to make was probably insufficient. If they were probably given more time, they could have come out with better products for the demo day. But I'm sure that didn't deter the team. But then yes, most participants did have in their mind was quality. My I'm sure most of them must have felt also that it's a very interim stage of a product. How do I get, what's the next step? How do I get this forward?
Okay, actually, one point from my side that these people work really hard, and it is quite nice to see that okay, mentor just not given the idea, but they work very closely with these participants. So it's ultimately what they were trying to put in their brain that they should think about their end product. So I think earlier they were not very much serious about how this end product is going to look, but during the entire process they become more serious, more more they were giving the idea that, and they were more thinking that at the end of this how their in product is going to look. So that was the one good thing happened the entire process.
Okay. So I think all the on-site teams, they got lots of support and they had lots of learnings throughout these 4 days. So my question to you is, what do you think, what's your recommendation for the online teams that did not have the chance to be in Bangalore this weekend? What would you recommend for them for their work at home in their respective workshops, basically? What's your advice for them?
Well, a couple of things. The first thing is that well, the first thing I think is that if they haven't already, and I think if I'm looking at who's on the line now, I think some have and some haven't, go and get a little bit more user experience. The user experience is, it's something that will help you learn. I mean, we talked about, having sort of 50 users as a minimum to really understand, the kind of feedback that you want. So even at this stage, that's important to do. The second thing is what we saw, what everybody has reflected here is the collaboration. So, often people are working within their own zone, and I think this is true of many of the on-site teams. We're developing a forum which should be on the website quite soon. And what I would suggest people do is, through the forum, but also more widely where they're themselves working within their universities and work environments, just go out and collaborate with people. So this is, it's worth talking to entrepreneurs. It's worth talking to firms which do fabrication. it's worth talking to makers of a different kind to really understand and get ideas where you're, in a sense, a little stuck. So if you can try and recreate the different parts of the experience, the business part of the experience, the actual technology for making, as well as issues to do with quality and product design and what they look like, the functionality of products, I think that would be a really good thing that you can still do. Yeah. The fourth aspect, which I think will push you towards a little bit as well, is really to think within the business component is how you are going to distribute your products. So try and take all of this into what you're doing next.
Great. Anyone else to add to that? Otherwise, we'll slowly come to some words on the judging and the selection.
Could I just ask, are there any questions from the people on the call at the moment? I mean, wanting to know a little bit more specifically, either on the Business Bootcamp or the Maker Days?
I do have a question. When they put together their business plans, was that expected that they would kind of move forward and continue to develop them, or is that something that will kind of evolve over time, as I'm sure it will? But what's kind of the expectation for the teams on site, and then how can we kind of work with that as well?
Okay. So, yeah, very important question. So what we're kind of saying is that the product needs to speak for itself, meaning that whatever you have produced has to be shown in a way where it's kind of clear that this is, fit for purpose, in the sense that you have to show that a person with a specific disability that you're addressing can use the product in a way in which they are, maybe not 100%, but more or less happy with what the product is feeling like. The prototype should be developed at this stage. So when the presentations are made, only a part of the presentation would be about the product. Most of the presentation would be actually a pitch to us as the organizers, but also to the group of people who we're bringing together, who will be investors, startup people, people with money, in order to say how you're going to take this idea forward. Because as far as everybody is concerned, it's, as far as the business community is concerned, as far as we're concerned as well, it's all right to have a product, and there have been thousands, if not millions, of products to disability already developed, but you don't see them actually being used. You don't actually see them being distributed, and so it's quite an important part of the process. If you would like, I mean, we will share with you, if it's not been done already, the business campus, but we can actually assign somebody for you to help you go through that process, who can interact with you one-on-one. Yeah, but it's a very, very important part of the process, which you may not have thought about now, and that's what our expectation will be by demo day.
Yes, that would be really helpful. Thank you.
So this, hello, just one thing I want to add that in this, that your product, while you are coming for demo day, your entire features of the product should be mentioned there. Because I felt it that, okay, the people are not able to mention this entire features of their product. So this one, all the people are not able to get it, that how devices can use for whole segment, and what are the features can be adjusted. So all those things should be mentioned there properly. Then only the people can get it.
I think adding also to that point, I think they should all the participants should get at least half day prior to create a presentation, a working presentation, a presentation that probably shows the different stages of their product. So from alpha stage, this is what it was. From beta stage, this is what it's reached. And once it reaches gold in terms of your final product, what is it going to be like? Or what do they estimate it to be in terms of look and feel? When we're looking at judges that are coming by, it is very easy to explain that this is what we aim to be, that is your ideal state, of where we want to reach, but then creating a presentation or giving them that kind of bandwidth to create a presentation, or even giving them few hours to collate their ideas and present their product well through stages would create an impact. It would that it's like your selling point. If you know how to make it, you should also know how to sell it well, and it should be sellable to anyone, to a judge, to an investor. It really doesn't matter. The entire crux of it lies there.
Okay, if there are no more questions, or are there any more questions? Otherwise, we can say a few words about the judging, and we can take more questions later as well. So, Nihal, you just joined the call. Welcome. If you want to say a few words about the judging and the process itself.
Hello everyone. Sorry I came a little bit late. I didn't have access to a good internet connection. But yeah, I'm here now. In terms of the judging, we had really experts, and Anil is here on the call, and I believe he might have already made an introduction, but he brings in a lot of expertise and understanding of the end users and what is the real requirement on the ground, and that is invaluable. Yeah. And then we have Anirudh Sharma, who formerly used to be with MIT Media Lab India. He used to head that initiative here. And he has also worked, he's built up a product in the disability space. It is called Lechal, which is a shoe which has haptic feedback, meant to help people who are blind or whose sight is weak. So the idea is you can actually connect it up to your phone, and it will direct you once you have entered the GPS coordinates. Then we have Jayant Devasundram, who is from IKP Knowledge Park. It's a massive facility in Hyderabad and Bangalore. Jayant is an expert on, in the medical space, but also in technology and design. And he has a very good understanding of business. He has helped USAID and a whole bunch of other companies in channeling their funds to the right projects and into challenge grants. So those are the judges. The process was simple. The process at demo day was initially when we started off shortlisting all of you into the Makeathon. It was about your idea and the potential, and of course a little bit about your team. In the second stage, which was at the Enable Makeathon Maker Days, it was all about the product. Right? How far have you come along? Is the product looking good? Are the features well thought out? Are you addressing the right market? Those kind of things. But largely, how's the product shaping up? And in that sense, we just looked at the 9 design guidelines that we had published to you before. It looked at affordability, it looked at accessibility, the materials used, trial by end users, all of those. So that's essentially what the guidelines, the selection guidelines were based on the design guidelines. So yeah, so that was pretty much the judging process.
And I think if judges had questions basically throughout, they would get back to a few of the teams with specific questions. So there was this interaction, at least with some of the teams as well. Right. So, well, these are the teams that were chosen for the online track. Congratulations to all of you who made it. So you see we selected 7 teams for the online track, and there are 10 teams for the on-site track as finalists. So all these teams are eligible for the prize money. All of you're gonna get further support, and you're gonna get the stage on demo day to present. At the same time, this means it's not the end for the teams that were deselected. The support will continue, and we'll talk more later, but by no means this means that the support stops for the other teams. So with that, I'd like to ask Anil, can you share a few words on the selection? We have 17 teams now. What made you choose? What made the difference in the end, or what was your experience in that?
Yeah, selection, as we see that what is Nihal is very well aware, there was a nine aspect for all of us to look into it. But what was most difficult was the trial by end users, and we realized that most of the teams has not been done testing by just end users. So this so that's what we were not able to get the clear idea that end of the day how the user is going to use and what will be their feedback. So this is okay, whatever happened it's happened, but what actually I want emphasis for the futures is if the most of the teams if they can test it with this actually in the with the end user, that will be the great advantage for us and actually their team, because we want to see this one their product if they are really going to use by this individual user. So this one if they can do that, that will be really benefit for this entire process. That's it from my side.
Great. Any other comments maybe from someone else who was involved in the process, or maybe a few words about the feedback as well? How teams can get their feedback?
Yeah, I would suggest that any of the teams, if you want, feedback about what were some of the challenges that that the judges found in your specific case, please feel free to write to us, and we'll make some feedback available. The judges have given some, comments as they were evaluating. So we'll be happy to share that with you. But if you need more feedback, then please do reach out to us, and we'll see if we can, probably even put you in touch with some of the judges so that you can get some insights.
I think from my side, the big thing that came out was that people really needed to, move a little bit ahead from where they were. So this is a conceptual proof, and really prototypes need to be developed much further. There was a whole aspect about build quality that people felt. Now this is perhaps more reflected, to be honest, on the on-site teams. So the build quality and the materials that were being used um, perhaps needed to be upgraded, because we didn't feel, it felt a little bit sometimes like these were hobbyists, and the sense was that investors and other people, companies, or even other startups who might be interested in taking some of these ideas forward, needed to go a little bit further in getting the materials and the look, much more appropriate to long-term use. That's it.
Great. I think that's also what you see on the slides, some of the key messages that were really felt a lot during the weekend. So what we already mentioned before, your product shall speak for itself in the end. So that leads us to the road ahead, unless someone has a question on the judging or the feedback or anything. Okay, if not, we could talk about the road ahead. You all know we're now going towards the demo day on the 23rd of January, so that's coming up very soon. So things will now get intense. I think maybe someone from Bangalore could speak on that, because you were there, you felt the energy, and you know what's expected now for these few weeks to come.
Sure. Yeah, so, the next couple of weeks we have, 5 Wednesdays, which means 5 learning sessions that we can do. We're going to try and make the most of it. But from now till Jan 23rd, we have exactly a month. And so now we really need to make this month count. Yeah. Here's what's going to happen on demo day, right? You will have the opportunity to present your product to potential customers and distributors. This is actually very significant because, at least in India, the way that it happens is there are a lot of government schemes. So if the government decides to buy your product, then it is likely that it is going to see really large volumes and over an extended period of time. Yeah, and then they distribute that to people in rural areas. There are also a lot of NGOs that are working in the space that are making these products accessible to people. So we're going to try and get as many of them as possible into the room on demo day, so you can make the pitch to them. Um, Additionally, we'll also have, apart from the government coming as a customer, the government here locally is also very interested in seeing what a makeathon or the whole maker movement can do in terms of innovation. So we're going to be calling a lot of government officials who are keeping a very close eye on this. And so once again, if your product is impressive, they're likely to open up more doors for you going forward in multiple ways. Investors will also be there. Mostly these will be impact investors. So your whole pitch will also have to kind of cater to this segment. The other part is collaborators. Now, this is very interesting because it's not necessary that people are coming there only to invest or to put money into your company or to give you orders for your products, but there might be really interesting collaboration opportunities. So, for example, if GE Healthcare or Philips, are going to be there, we're definitely inviting them, and it's likely that they will join. If they're there, they might see some potential for this, for your product. They might want to license your technology. They might want to invite you to join their, innovation. So there are multiple ways that things can, work for you if you can make an important, an impression there. And finally, there will be the press as well, and so you'll get a lot of visibility.
So we were saying the goal, or at least kind of the mindset, shall be that on January 23rd you managed to close 2 deals. So I think that's the mindset that we encourage you to have as we're going into the next weeks. And for that, you need to have a product that speaks for itself, and it should be a product and not a proof of concept. So maybe Nihal, again, you could just explain what we see here on the slides with the 3 different stages.
Yeah, so if you look at how the GoPro happened, right? Initially, it would have started off in someone's lab or a garage with just cardboard boxes being put together and components being thrown in together. It looked like that first image over there. That's just a proof of concept, right? So I think today many of the teams are at this stage. So this also goes back to what Tarun was mentioning about the build quality and the choice of materials. This obviously does not come across as professional. It's amazing what you guys have already done in terms of building this up in just a month. But the ground reality is that on demo day, if you were to put up something that looks like this, it is very unlikely that you're going to get any buyers or investors, right? So if you look at the second image, that is GoPro's version 1, the product that actually hit the market. There's nothing great about it. It was, existing camera design more or less. The casing was, the casing was not anything new. There were a lot of such similar waterproof casings, and they just added a strap to it so that you could kind of load it onto your hand, and then you can go out and shoot your, your skateboarding or your adventure sports, whatever it was. But just look at the difference between the first picture and the second picture, right? Now, people would be willing to put in money on this, even if it was not feature rich, even if it did not have, a whole bunch of fancy things, because at least they were sure that it would work and that it would solve some kind of problem or add some value to their life. Now, the third image is what GoPro is able to do now. Really, really nice cameras, great build quality, reliability, a decent price point, great accessories, all of that. Right? So what you guys need to do is to go from this proof of concept, which is picture 1, to picture 3 in 1 month. Yeah, so that's really difficult, and but it's not impossible. Strictly speaking, it's not impossible. But even if you can't get to picture 3, you have to at least get to picture 2 before you can demo it. Yeah, because like I said, you're going to have a lot of customers out there. The customers are going to be looking at your product, and they're really not going to care that yes, they just started like 2 months ago, and this is how much they accomplished in that short time, because they're looking at it and saying, which of these products can I actually take and give to people with disabilities in different areas? So your product has to inspire that confidence. The product has to speak for itself. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Can I go through this part as well? Okay. So so the focus now, like we mentioned before, this is going to be holistic. We have to focus on not just the product, although that's the critical aspect of it, but you will also have to show or present to your audience how you plan to build your business and how you plan to make your company sustainable. Because remember, a lot of these things, like I mentioned, if it's the government or if it's a large NGO that's coming to buy your products and distribute them, they usually do it as part of a program that spans across a couple of years and that has places large orders over a period of time and it keeps distributing that. They will be very interested in seeing if your company is going to survive for the next 2 years or the next 5 years, and that as a startup you're not going to shut shop 6 months down the line, right? So they'll be very interested to know that their program is not going to fall apart the minute that you as a startup decide to close doors. So you'll have to show them that you are here to stay, that you have thought through your business side of it. Even if you are a not-for-profit, right? How are you going to be sustainable through your own revenues? Can you create that kind of confidence in the audience who are going to be listening to you that day? And of course, the marketing. You're going to be pitching there to your potential customers or to potential investors or to potential collaborators. So you need to be able to sell your idea or your product and your business and really close the deal. Like we said, come there with the mindset that you have all of these potential customers there. You need to get at least 2 of them to sign up with you on that day. So your presentation, your website, your brochures, your posters, everything has to be geared towards closing those 2 deals. Yep. I think we lost the image. Oh, we lost Andrina, I guess.
Yeah, her connection was slow, I guess.
Okay. Just wondering, I mean, for you on the call, are there any kind of questions? We're really asking for a lot over the next month. We kind of think that some of you have been building for quite a long time, but really to take things up to this sort of level 2 that Nihal has been talking about, to the prototype and even to the final product. Is this going to be a possibility, and what kind of support might you need to take you there?
Just from the on-site track,
Yeah.
how are we going to actually present on that day? Because I understand we'll have the posters and video, but would you want us on a video conference as well to present and answer questions?
I think that can be enabled. We're going to a place where maybe it is possible to do that. In the case of your particular product, I'm also just wondering, I mean, I'm just opening this out, is that potentially it might be possible to actually take a copy of your product and send it across so that people can actually touch and feel it.
Yeah, I'm planning to send the files and everything once I do all the final cleanup on them. And it's just, on that day, I know someone's going to have like a really weird random question that won't be covered by a video or anything. So, it'd be nice to be there somehow.
Okay, certainly. So what we have the whole day. So what we're planning to do, in fact, is because we kind of felt that the way that we had the judging this time wasn't perfect, and people weren't really up to speed on their presentations. They were still sort of concentrating on their prototypes. So we're having a pre-day in which we're kind of going to do a dry run. So make sure that everybody is actually prepared and all the equipment is working and the posters are properly and people have had time to actually make their presentations properly. So on that day, we'll also kind of see how best we can do this kind of interactive session, because I do think that it is important, that people are able to sort of ask questions exactly as you said, because the judges, I felt, got more of an understanding of what was happening in the on-site teams just because of the proximity, and I would like to kind of balance that out a little bit, going ahead.
Yeah, so it would be something where like the on-site online teams would have like a table or a booth to present from?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So we will absolutely enable that. So at the moment, what we're trying to say is that there'll be a kind of a marketplace for the people who didn't make it. So each of them would have a booth, and they won't be present for the prizes. But obviously, the investors and the other collaborators and the government, etc., will go and see them. Now, we'd also probably have some time when either the judges or investors can talk directly and ask questions. Yeah, let's see how that works. We haven't made the program yet, but we'll try and make sure that this facility is absolutely available.
Okay.
Maybe a question back to you. Would you generally be willing to stay up at night and just Skype in at a very random time for you? Is that an option, or what do you think on that?
Specifically for me, right now I'm only teaching part-time, but the 23rd and 22nd are days I have off. So I don't have a problem coming in at midnight or whatever.
Okay, so we'll.
And just as long as it's planned ahead of time so I can make sure I'm actually awake.
Great.
Then,
So we'll check the options and we will get back to you with more details. So in general, we said, and that's what you see on the slide, is that we would ask you for a 5-minute video pitch. So that's, of course, on your product. That should ideally anyway be there and speak for itself. And then, of course, the business. So it's also a sales pitch talking about distribution and what you need as well as further investment or support. Then showcase of your product. So ideally we want to have all the products there if that's possible. So we would also need your help there. Maybe you can help us. Maybe you have ideas. Some are easier, like yours, Stan, with 3D printing. That's very straightforward. Others, we're just wondering, can they be shipped to India possibly? Is that an option? So just let us know if you have an idea. And we also, for example, yesterday we talked to the team Rump, and we told them we can help them build the product if they give us good instructions and tell us what to purchase. We can help them build it. So we can get quite creative to make sure people can actually kind of touch and feel the product in India, which will definitely help. For the marketplace that we just mentioned, we can give you the opportunity to print posters and brochures. So they will be designed by you, but we offer you to print them so that your booth is visually attractive and conveys all the information that people need to get. And finally, we also encourage you to have a website. Maybe that was covered. I dropped out for a few minutes from the call, so maybe that was mentioned before. So you'll also have a website, ideally. We will come back to you with specifications on all of these. And one more thing to mention is that all teams have the chance to submit posters and brochures and be present at Marketplace. And only the finalist teams get the time on stage and are eligible to prize money. But other than that, all teams can have a booth there.
Can I just sort of a little bit have a discussion with the teams here? These are ideas that I have because I've sort of seen what it's like in Bangalore. Now, when we were doing the 3D printing, of the 3D PT, we did that within Workbench projects, but we also went on to one of the sites called Umagine, which is just like Thingiverse. In fact, we found that within the kind of Bangalore area, there were several 3D printing hubs that were sort of able to print out, the product. So what I'm kind of suggesting is that perhaps you can actually contact people in the Bangalore through Thingiverse or Umagine, and actually sort of they can print the products out in a sort of a remote location, so you can show a little bit of the proof of your distribution system. Yeah, it's just a suggestion. You don't have to take it up, but I think it'd be quite powerful that somebody who has not ever met you is able to come and make a presentation of what they did for the product that you have, if that's the distribution channel that you want to take.
I was looking at something similar.
Yeah,
We have what are called collective companies or co-ops,
sure.
and that's where groups of people work together and they negotiate rates and things like that. And it's used a lot for farming.
Yeah,
And I've definitely been considering that kind of model where we have a co-op or a collective of 3D printers through either 3D hubs or Imagine that
yeah,
produce in bulk. Because printers can only produce so many parts at a time. So if you have like 20 printers cranking out 50 pieces at a plate per time, then you could actually produce something like this in bulk for market instead of just one guy trying to burn out his printer doing that. So
okay.
I've definitely been looking at that kind of model for distribution. And you said it's Imagine?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
I mean, what I suggest is that, as you're going ahead, just figure this in. Whatever help you want from us to do this, we will do it at that end, but you can obviously do it online as well. But we would like to, perhaps even take pictures of people at the end where they're printing it in some remote location so that that can help you in your pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Can I also just suggest for the right fit prosthetics, Stan, are you there?
Yeah.
So Stan, I think the best thing for you to do perhaps is to get a product across, but can I suggest that we identify for you a local, either hospital, a company, or an NGO that's willing to also add in, perhaps collaborate with you in the showing of your product. So you can do your own specific presentation, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe over the course of this month, yeah, bringing
So
in
I'm
the
sorry,
right.
that's Rochelle from Right Fit, right? So
Yes,
Oh,
you're talking
sorry,
about
I
Right
was
sorry,
Fit
going to
right now.
ask if that was for us or for
Yeah.
for
sorry,
Stan.
sorry,
Either
sorry.
one.
No worries.
Sorry. So the people from, just let me get that right. Sorry, can you correct me? Who?
Rochelle from
Yeah,
Right Fit.
Rochelle. Sorry,
Mhm.
Rochelle.
No problem.
Rochelle, so yeah, what I'm suggesting is that it makes a little bit it might be quite nice if either APD or maybe Anil can suggest who might be the right people, maybe Mobility India or hospital that is providing prosthetics, is able to kind of showcase your product against what they have in the market, and also kind of show what the from a kind of domain expertise, show what the advantages are. I mean, you would guide them on how they do this, but I think that it makes it more alive,
Mm-hmm.
the demonstration, and then you would have the ability to answer questions as we talked about earlier.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Actually, definitely we can do it, but we don't want to put here Mobility India because they are already submitting their project, and so this one
Okay.
it might be actually bit actually disturbing for them because they might not want another really competitor. But I can find out actually few other professional who might be interested in this, so this I will let you know on this.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you
and
so much.
I'll work on my end. My aunt's a nurse, and she's got connections with some other communities. So I'm going to try and work with some local rehab centers here in Colorado and see what I can do. There's actually one that does physical therapy and recovery a couple blocks from my house. So I'm going to try and take these there and see what I can do.
Okay. Do you have, I mean, do you both have in your mind's eye, what your product is going to look like? I mean, if we talk about getting it to the product stage, or do you
Yeah.
need help with getting it there?
Um, since I'm envisioning this for the education challenge, I'm taking my experience as a teacher right now.
Yeah.
And kids love brightly colored things and things that spin around and move and everything else, and teachers love things that actually help the students.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of looking actually at using my students in my class that I'm teaching as guinea pigs when they come back from break, and getting a lot of feedback from them because I'm showing them how to do the CAD drafting for this. So I'll play with that in a couple weeks when we get back from Christmas break. But also, again, going to the hospitals, going to the rehab centers, and getting some help from people that actually use it there.
Yeah, for our group, we do. We're working on our foot shell right now. We just got our shoe last from a local shoemaker here. So we're hoping to make that in the next week or so. So we do know what it's going to look like. For us, user feedback is a little bit more challenging just because amputees, since we both work in clinics, we're working with amputees, but it's a little bit more challenging to actually do the paperwork and things so that they can actually try the device on. There are just a few more hoops to jump through. So from our standpoint, 50 end users or 50 user trials is really not feasible. Maybe we can get 10, but that's pushing it in a month.
Yeah.
So
But I think even 2 or 3 that to demonstrate is enough.
okay. And do
You
you think it
know,
would be possible to have someone in India to actually use it and demo? I don't know.
absolutely, absolutely. And
Mhm.
this is what I really think you should take the opportunity of doing this. So if Anil gets you in touch, Anil, as a
Yeah.
priority with somebody,
Yes. Sure.
there in Bangalore, we certainly
Yeah.
have the people there, and we can ensure that this is done. But it needs to be, start off quite quickly if you're going to
Yes.
get it
Okay.
right from their point of view. Yeah.
Okay, and I actually had a colleague, I was working on a different project in prosthetics maybe a year ago, and I actually had a colleague who went to Bangalore and they worked with a couple of local organizations. I can get in contact with him and see who they worked with, but it may be possible for us to use the previous connections that we had as well. Um, so yeah.
Okay. Any other sort of ideas or support? I mean, one thing I would say that if you are making, I don't know what you call it, but the cosmetic case around the prosthetic, um, I don't know what facilities you have, but what I would suggest is that, in your local environment, if you can go to fabricators to help you do that. At this stage, I mean, if you sort of see what it costs and let us know, we may be able to support you. I'm just saying this at the top of my head, but what I'm trying to sort of emphasize is that it's really important to get it right. This is a one sort of one opportunity for 2 days to do it. So what I found in the Maker Day is that a lot of the people who were there had great ideas, but didn't necessarily have the making experience to get their products to the quality that was required. And if you really need help with that, maybe somebody in your university can help, but please go to the experts at this stage. Hello?
Mm-hmm.
One
Do we?
other sort of
Yeah.
feedback is for the 3D printing. It might be also worth just looking at maybe one other material that can be used for the printing itself, something which might be a bit softer, if that's appropriate to the products.
For material, you mean something like NinjaFlex or the rubber filaments?
Yeah, just in terms of kind of comfort and use and things
Yeah.
like that, it did occur to me. Certainly, there's a possibility of at least showing alternatives, which
Yeah.
allows people to see, what scope there is for changing.
Yeah. So definitely, actually, what Tarun is mentioning, that's the feedback we got it from other people. They were telling that it has some sharp edges and it might not be beneficial for the people like actually leprosy or who's having reduced sensation. So this one, if we can look into a material aspect of it, or if we are going to use the same material, we can make the edges bit smooth.
Yeah, I'm working on smoothing it out. It's just with the rubber materials, there's technical limitations on a lot of printers that
Sure.
won't let them print in the NinjaFlex and RubberFlex materials. So that's one of the reasons why I'm printing with just the PLA.
Okay.
But
Okay.
we could play around with that later.
Okay. Maybe Manas, if you're online, perhaps it would be a good idea to get them in touch with Fractalworks if you think that they might be helpful.
Yeah, Fractalworks, I'll be sharing the context. So Fractalwork will be much of the helpful in the 3D printing and this thing. So I'll connect them to Raghav from Fractalworks.
Okay. Andrina?
Yes. Does anyone have any more questions? Or maybe support that you would need?
I think no.
Yeah, if no, then we're good to go. We're gonna follow up with more information also in the coming days. The
One thing
website. Yeah.
I'll just add, guys, from today itself, we'll be starting from our webinars. So today for the term sheet, we have a webinar at 8 IST. So I'll share the links in a while. So within 5 minutes, I'll be sharing it. You guys can join it. If you are not able to join it, you can watch the whole session on YouTube later on.
So that's at 2:30 Universal Time.
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll share the links through email as well. So that's today, and we're going to follow up with more information on the coming webinars. The website has been updated in the calendar, and as Tarun has announced, there's going to be a forum soon. We're working hard on making that work, so that's going to be then more interactive, where you can get your feedback and ask for support as well. And we're also going to follow up with more information on the demo day and what you can actually submit. And again, as before, at any point, if you need help or can think of ways we can help you in India or remotely, let us know, and we'll do our best to help you there. Okay. Any final word from anyone as we're going towards demo day now?
Yeah, just one final thing for me. Please bring products to the demo day. I don't mean to be rude here again, but if you do not have a product, we will probably not allow you to present it there, because what that does is it spoils the environment for everybody else. If the audience see that your product or your presentation is failing on stage, they are likely to dismiss the whole event, and that makes it difficult for the other teams that are there as well. To convince the people to close those deals. So you must have a product for demo day, fully working, tested, with feedback from end users, nicely fabricated, nicely packaged. Yeah, and it's possible. It's difficult, but it's possible, and we're all here to help. So please do your best.
Great. Any message from Tarun or anyone? Anil, Manas?
Just best of luck. I think you've really done well. I think we're talking to two groups here. I think they're great products. I really think take them to that level where, people are not going to be able to say no. So best of luck with that.
Best of luck, guys, from my side too.
Great. Thank you very much, everyone. And yeah, good luck. And we're excited to be going these next weeks with you. And till then, Merry Christmas, I would say.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.